My name is Loretta S. Sullivan. I am 31 years old, and the night my boyfriend told me he could meet his female boss for drinks at midnight whenever he wanted was the night I stopped mistaking loyalty for self-abandonment. The smell of garlic and rosemary still floated through our apartment. I had made roasted chicken and the little potatoes Caleb loved. Our dishes were in the dishwasher. Two empty wine glasses sat on the coffee table, and a documentary about deep-sea trenches played softly on television. It was an ordinary Tuesday, a peaceful one. Caleb rested against me with his feet stretched across the couch, scrolling through his phone. His hair was still damp from the shower, and I remember thinking that this quiet comfort was what 5 years together had earned us. Then his phone vibrated. His entire body changed. He unlocked the screen, and the relaxed smile on his face sharpened into the polished expression he used before important meetings. "Vanessa needs me," he said. His boss. "Needs what?" "The Patterson presentation. London changed something before tomorrow's call." I glanced at the clock. "Caleb, it's 11:15. She wants to meet at the Loft and go through it." The Loft was an expensive cocktail bar downtown. Dim lighting, private booths, and executives pretending martinis were work equipment. "Can't you review it online?" He sighed. "We'll have drinks and finish quickly." This was not the first time. There had been the leadership weekend in Napa, where partners were not invited. The client dinners that stretched past midnight. The sudden attention Caleb paid to his clothes before meeting Vanessa. 2 weeks earlier, his jacket had smelled faintly of her perfume. He said she hugged everyone. I had tried to believe him. What part of a presentation requires cocktails alone with your boss at midnight? Caleb stood. His face hardened. "This is a serious career, Loretta. Not your comfortable technology job where everyone logs off at 5. My job pays half this apartment." "That's not the point." "No. The point is that you keep disappearing with Vanessa and calling it work." His eyes flashed. "There it is." "What?" "Your insecurity." He crossed his arms, relieved to have found a way to make my discomfort the problem. "You cannot handle that I work with successful women." "This is not about successful women. It is about respect. Respect means trusting me. Trust does not mean pretending patterns do not exist." He grabbed his jacket and purse-sized laptop bag from the chair. Then he looked directly at me. "I am not asking permission. I am telling you what I am doing. If I want to meet my boss for drinks at midnight, I will." He paused. "It's networking." I looked at the man I had supported through graduate school, internships, rejections, and every professional crisis. I had driven him to interviews when his car broke down. I had listened to presentations until 2 in the morning, yet now I was merely the stable background to the exciting life he believed Vanessa could offer. He expected an argument. He wanted tears, accusations, and proof that I was the controlling girlfriend preventing him from succeeding. Instead, something inside me became completely still. "Understood," I said. Caleb hesitated. That was not the answer he had prepared for. "Good," he finally replied. "Don't wait up." The door closed behind him at 11:27. I remained on the couch for 5 minutes, listening to the refrigerator hum. Then I stood. I packed my clothes, passport, work laptop, medication, documents, and toiletries into a weekend bag. I left every gift he had bought me. No note, no final argument, no explanation he could distort. I placed my apartment key in the center of the kitchen counter beneath the bright pendant light. Then I left. I checked into an anonymous hotel on the edge of the city, blocked Caleb on social media, removed myself from our shared accounts, and fell asleep without checking the time. At 6:42 the next morning, my phone began vibrating. "Loretta, where are you? Why is your key on the counter? Are you seriously ending 5 years over one argument? Then, please come home. I'm sorry. Don't throw us away over nothing." I stared at that final sentence. Nothing. Caleb had finally given his choices the perfect name, and I decided to treat them accordingly. I did not answer Caleb. Not that morning. Not that afternoon. Not when the messages changed from panic to accusation. At 8:07 he wrote, You're seriously ghosting me after 5 years? At 9:34. This is childish, Loretta. Adults talk. At 11:12. Vanessa says this is emotional manipulation. That one almost made me laugh. The woman he had rushed to meet at midnight was now helping define my boundaries as abuse. I silenced the conversation but did not block his number. Part of me wanted a record. Not for revenge. For clarity. I had spent too long allowing him to rewrite conversations while they were still happening. By evening, the tone softened. I was stressed. I said things badly. Please come home. Our apartment feels empty. The apartment had felt empty long before I left. The difference was that Caleb had finally noticed. The next morning, I contacted our landlord, Ryan Holt. I explained that the relationship had ended permanently and asked what it would take to remove myself from the lease. Ryan had always been reasonable. You sound sure, he said. I am. There's an early release penalty. I'll pay it. 2 months' rent felt expensive until I compared it with another year of shrinking inside that apartment. By the end of the week, I had rented a furnished studio downtown. It was small enough that I could see the entire place from the doorway. One couch, one bed, one narrow kitchen, and a window facing an old brick building. I loved it immediately. There were no framed photographs chosen to impress Caleb's colleagues, no untouched wine collection, no decorative books purchased because Vanessa once said successful homes should look curated. Everything inside existed because I wanted it there. Each night, I checked Caleb's muted messages once. Day 2 brought confusion. Was it really about one drink? Are you that insecure? We could try counseling. Day 3 brought negotiation. No more late meetings alone. I'll set boundaries with Vanessa. Just tell me where you are. Day 4 brought performance. He left a voicemail with carefully broken pauses. Loretta, I miss you. I know I handled things badly, but this was one misunderstanding. We are better than this. I deleted it. The problem was not one drink. It was the fact that he believed respect was optional whenever ambition gave him a better excuse. A week later, his friend Jessica contacted me. Caleb is devastated. He made a mistake. Don't throw away 5 years because he worked late. I blocked her. 3 weeks passed before a mutual friend named Derek called. I'm not picking sides, he began. People who say that usually already know which side the evidence favors. What happened? I asked. There's an investigation at Caleb's company. I remained silent. Derek continued. Vanessa's husband received photographs from the loft. Caleb and Vanessa were sitting together in one of the back booths. Apparently, they looked close. How close? Not presentation deck close. I leaned against my kitchen counter. Vanessa has been placed on leave. Caleb's name is involved in the complaint. That explained why his messages had stopped for several days. Caleb is telling people you left because you couldn't handle his career, Derek added carefully. People can believe what they want. The timeline is making that difficult. After we ended the call, I stood beside the window watching evening traffic move between the buildings. I did not feel vindicated, only unsurprised. Caleb had chosen Vanessa because he believed she represented access, power, and advancement. He had treated me like the safe place he could return to after chasing something more exciting. But Vanessa had more to lose than he did, and when the investigation began, she protected herself. The messages resumed 2 weeks later. This time, there was no arrogance. They suspended me. Vanessa says I pursued her. She's blaming everything on me. Then, Loretta, you were right. I was blind. Please answer. Several days later, he wrote, They fired me. I read the message in my quiet studio while eating dinner from a bowl balanced on my lap. For 5 years, I had been the person Caleb called whenever his life collapsed. I fixed applications, reviewed resumes, covered bills between jobs, reminded him who he was when rejection made him doubt himself. Now he expected the same rescue after destroying the relationship that made those rescues possible. I did not respond. A month later, his mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Loretta, Caleb has lost his job and most of his friends. I know he hurt you, but silence is cruel. He has learned his lesson. He needs someone stable right now. Someone stable. Not someone he loved. Not someone he respected. A resource. I deleted the message. By then, I had been promoted to lead a new technology project. I started running again, sleeping through the night, and cooking meals without wondering whether anyone would arrive before they became cold. I also met Adrian, a graphic designer whose ambition did not require humiliating the person beside him. We were taking things slowly. For the first time, slow felt safe, rather than uncertain. Nearly a year after I left my key on the counter, I returned from an evening run and saw Caleb sitting outside my new building. He looked smaller than I remembered. When he stood, his face held the desperate hope of someone who had finally run out of other doors to knock on. "Loretta," he said. "Please. I just need 5 minutes." I stopped several feet away from Caleb. He looked nothing like the man who had stood over me in our old living room and declared that midnight drinks with Vanessa were his right. The expensive coat was gone. His hair had grown longer, and there were dark circles beneath his eyes. He wore an old sweater I remembered from years earlier, back when ambition had not yet become the only language he understood. 5 minutes, he repeated. I checked the time on my watch. You have 3. He flinched, but nodded. I've been in therapy. I said nothing. I understand now that I was arrogant. I let Vanessa convince me that everything in life was about advancement, status, being seen by the right people. Vanessa did not force you to leave that night. I know. His answer came too quickly, as though rehearsed. She manipulated me, he continued. She knew I wanted the promotion. She made me believe I was special, that I belonged in rooms I had spent years trying to enter. And I was what? His mouth tightened. You were home. The honesty of that answer surprised me, not because it was kind, because it revealed everything. I had been home, reliable, available. The place where he expected dinner, comfort, and forgiveness to wait while he pursued something more exciting. Caleb stepped closer. I took that for granted. I took you for granted. Yes, I lost everything. There it was. Not, I hurt you. Not, I betrayed us. I lost everything. His job, his reputation, his access to Vanessa. And now he had come searching for the final piece of his old life. Me. My friends barely speak to me, he said. Vanessa told everyone I chased her. Her husband stayed with her, and I became the entire scandal. That sounds painful. He stared at me, apparently unsure whether I meant it. I did. Pain was still pain, even when it came from consequences. I've spent the last year thinking about that night, he said. I should never have gone. The night was not the whole problem. I know. It was the dinners. Napa. The way I spoke to you. The way you saw me. His eyes lowered. Yes. A car passed behind us, headlights briefly illuminating his face. I'm not asking you to take me back, he said. That was a lie. Maybe not one he consciously recognized, but a lie all the same. I just need closure. I almost smiled. What closure are you missing? He looked confused. I need you to hear me out, to understand that I'm not that man anymore. You've been speaking for almost 3 minutes. His desperation sharpened. Loretta, please. 5 years should mean more than this. They did. Then how can you be so cold? The word landed without force. Once, it would have sent me scrambling to prove I was compassionate. It would have made me question whether my boundaries were cruelty. Now I understood what he meant. Cold meant unavailable for use. I'm not cold, I said. I'm finished. His eyes filled. I loved you. You loved what I provided. That isn't fair. I supported you through school. I helped you prepare for interviews. I paid more when your income was unstable. I built our home around your career. I appreciated those things. No, you expected them. He shook his head. I made mistakes, but you walked away without giving me a chance. You gave yourself the chance to leave. His jaw tightened. I came home, and you were gone. You told me not to wait up. I did not mean forever. You did not think your choices could cost you forever. For a moment, anger flashed across his face. The humility disappeared. You always do this, he said. You turn everything into logic. No emotion. No humanity. I'm standing here telling you I'm drowning and you're acting like I'm a stranger. There he was. The man beneath the apology. Still demanding that his pain become my responsibility. Still angry that I would not rescue him. You came here for something, I said. Not to apologize. You want my attention, my reassurance, and permission to believe you are still a good person. That's not true. You said you needed closure. Then you said I owed 5 years more than this. Now you're calling me heartless because I won't give you what you want. Caleb stared at me. I don't have anything left for you, I continued. That account is closed. His face crumpled. So that's it? I remembered his messages from the morning after I left. Don't throw us away over nothing. You called it nothing, I said. What? That night. Your choice. My pain. You said I was throwing us away over nothing. He went completely still. I believed you. Understanding moved across his face slowly. If his betrayal had been nothing, then leaving it behind had cost me nothing too. Loretta, I hope therapy helps you become someone better, but I will not be the reward for that work. I walked past him and unlocked the courtyard gate. He did not follow. Before the door closed, I heard him say my name once. I stepped into the warm lobby and allowed the lock to click behind me. Upstairs, I showered, cooked dinner, and turned on a documentary about forests recovering after fire. Adrian texted to ask how my run went. Peaceful, I replied. And for the first time, that word described not only my evening, but my entire life. I thought that would be the last time I saw Caleb. For several months it was. My life continued quietly. Adrian and I became more serious, though neither of us rushed it. He had a way of making ordinary things feel steady rather than dull. Sunday markets, coffee before work, sitting beside each other while doing separate things without needing constant reassurance. There were no unexplained midnight meetings, no disappearing messages, no accusation that trust required me to ignore what I could clearly see. One evening, Adrian was cooking pasta in my kitchen when he asked whether Caleb had contacted me again. No. Do you think he will? I looked toward the window. Probably. People like Caleb confuse silence with an unfinished conversation. Adrian nodded. He did not tell me to block him harder or promise to confront him. He simply handed me a spoon and asked whether the sauce needed more salt. That was what healthy love looked like. It did not demand that every wound become a performance. Then Derek called. I had not heard from him in months. Loretta, I thought you should know something before it reaches you another way. What happened? Caleb has been telling people you abandoned him during a mental health crisis. I closed my eyes. Of course, he had found a new version of the story. He says you knew he was struggling at work and punished him for networking with Vanessa. Does anyone believe him? Some people did at first. At first? Derek hesitated. Then Jessica shared screenshots. Apparently, Caleb had sent Jessica several messages shortly after our breakup. In one, he bragged that I would return because I was too invested to walk away permanently. In another, he admitted Vanessa had been flirting with him for months and said the late-night meeting was his chance to prove he could play at her level. The screenshots spread through our old social circle. His claim that the night had been innocent collapsed instantly. He is furious, Derek said. He thinks you gave Jessica the messages. I didn't. I know. The following morning, Caleb emailed my work address. You really cannot stop destroying my life, can you? I forwarded it to Human Resources and my attorney. Then another arrived. I know you're behind those screenshots. A third followed. Adrian won't stay once he knows who you really are. That message changed everything. Caleb had been monitoring my life. I had never told him about Adrian. My social accounts were private, and our mutual friends knew better than to carry information back to him. I contacted my building manager and requested security footage from the previous month. Caleb had visited twice. Both times, he remained across the street for nearly an hour. The second time, he photographed Adrian entering the building. The calm I felt was different now. Not emotional distance, recognition of danger. I filed a harassment report and sent every message, voicemail, and security clip to my attorney. She prepared a formal cease and desist letter warning Caleb that further contact or surveillance would lead to legal action. His response arrived through his lawyer. He denied everything. Then, he blamed grief. 2 days later, Caleb's mother called from another number. "You are ruining him," she said. "No, I am protecting myself. He only went near your building because he wanted to apologize." He had already apologized. "He still loves you. Love does not watch someone from across the street." Her voice hardened. "Adrian is filling your head with this." That told me Caleb had shared more information than I realized. "I will not discuss my relationship with you. You were part of our family for 5 years." And Caleb decided a midnight drink mattered more. I ended the call. That evening, I finally told Adrian everything. The emails, the photographs, the security footage. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he reached across the table. "Are you afraid?" "A little." "That makes sense. I hate that he can still affect my life." "He is affecting your precautions," Adrian said. "He does not get to affect your future." The distinction mattered. I installed additional security cameras and changed my daily running route. My company redirected all outside contact through human resources. Caleb disappeared again. Not because he understood, because legal consequences had finally entered the room. Weeks passed. Then Derek sent me one final update. Caleb had been dismissed from therapy after repeatedly using sessions to strategize how to contact me rather than accept the relationship was over. Several friends cut ties completely after learning he had watched my building. He blamed everyone: Vanessa, Jessica, Derek, me, never himself. That was when I fully understood that Caleb had not returned seeking closure. He had returned seeking control over the ending. He could accept losing his job. He could accept losing Vanessa. What he could not accept was that I had left without allowing him to define why. But the ending belonged to me too. And this time, I was protecting it. The cease and desist letter worked. For nearly 3 months, Caleb disappeared completely. No emails, no new accounts, no calls from unfamiliar numbers, no figure waiting across the street when I returned from work. At first, I still checked the sidewalk before entering my building. I changed routes whenever a car seemed to follow me for more than 2 turns. Every notification made my shoulders tighten for half a second before I remembered that silence had finally returned. But fear slowly released its grip. Adrian never pressured me to move faster than I was ready for. He did not complain when I checked the locks twice before bed or kept the curtains closed after dark. He simply stayed. One night, while we were eating takeout on my living room floor, he looked around and asked, "Do you ever think about moving? Because of Caleb?" "Not only because of him. This apartment was where you rebuilt yourself. Maybe you're ready for somewhere that belongs to what comes next." The idea settled quietly inside me. A month later, I found a small townhouse near the edge of the city. It had a narrow garden, wide windows, and enough distance from my old neighborhood that every street did not carry a memory. I signed the lease alone. Adrian helped me move, but his name was not attached to anything. We both understood why that mattered. The first evening there, I placed my new key on the kitchen counter. For a moment, I remembered the silver key I had left beneath the pendant light in the apartment I once shared with Caleb. That key had represented surrender. This one represented choice. My phone rang while Adrian assembled a bookshelf in the next room. It was Caleb's mother. I nearly ignored it, but something told me this call would be different. "Loretta," Marion said when I answered. Her voice sounded smaller than usual. "I'm not calling to ask you to take him back." "That's new." "I know." There was a long pause. "Caleb was arrested last night." My grip tightened around the phone. "For what?" "He went to Vanessa's house." Apparently, after months of blaming me for ruining his life, Caleb had redirected his obsession toward the woman he believed had started everything. He waited outside Vanessa's home until her husband returned. There was shouting, a broken windshield, threatening messages sent from several anonymous accounts. Vanessa had saved everything. When the police arrived, Caleb was still standing in the driveway. Marion began crying. He keeps saying everyone betrayed him. I stared through the window at Adrian carrying another box toward the house. Has he accepted responsibility for anything? No. Then nothing has changed. I understand that now. For once, she did not ask me to help. She did not say he needed me. She simply whispered, "I'm sorry I blamed you." I closed my eyes. Thank you for saying that. The apology did not heal anything, but it was the first one from his family that did not contain a request. After the call, I told Adrian what had happened. He stopped working and sat beside me. How do you feel? Sad. For him? For the person he might have been. That was the honest answer. Caleb had not been born cruel. Somewhere beneath the ambition and entitlement had once been the man who made me laugh while washing dishes, who held my hand during my father's surgery, who stayed awake helping me prepare for my first major presentation. But potential does not erase behavior. Memories do not create safety. A person can once have been good to you and still become someone you must leave behind. The legal case moved quickly because Vanessa had documented the harassment carefully. Caleb received a restraining order, mandatory treatment, and probation connected to the property damage and threats. My attorney confirmed that his actions violated the conditions outlined in our previous warning. We could pursue additional penalties if he contacted me again. He never did. Maybe he finally understood. More likely, he had simply lost the ability. Nearly 2 years after the night I left the apartment, Adrian and I sat in the small garden behind my townhouse. He was sketching ideas for a mural while I read beside him. There was no tension in the silence, no suspicious notifications, no need to monitor anyone's expression for signs that affection had shifted elsewhere. Adrian looked up from his tablet. What are you thinking about? The word networking. He laughed. That sounds ominous. It used to. I told him how ridiculous the phrase seemed now. How Caleb had wrapped disrespect in professional language and expected me to accept it because objecting would make me appear insecure. Adrian set the tablet aside. You were never threatened by his success. No, I was threatened by how willing he was to sacrifice me for the appearance of it. And now? Now, his success is none of my business. That freedom was more complete than anger. I no longer checked whether Caleb had found another job. I did not search court records or ask Derek for updates. I stopped wondering whether he regretted losing me. Regret belonged to him. Peace belonged to me. On the anniversary of the night I left, I cooked roasted chicken with garlic and rosemary. The same recipe. The same potatoes. But this time, Adrian stood beside me chopping vegetables while music played from the speaker. His phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it. Client asking about tomorrow's design review. Do you need to answer? No. He turned the phone face down. It can wait until morning. The gesture was small. That was why it mattered. Respect rarely announces itself through grand speeches. It appears in simple choices. Who gets your attention? Who gets protected? Who never has to beg for basic consideration? We ate on the patio as evening settled over the garden. Later, while washing the dishes, I thought about the apartment key, Caleb's frantic messages, his desperate appearance outside my building, and the final accusation that I had become cold. I had not become cold. I had become unavailable to people who treated warmth as something they were entitled to consume. Caleb told me that meeting Vanessa at midnight was nothing. He told me my concerns were nothing. He told me our relationship was too important to throw away over nothing. In the end, I accepted his definition. I left the nothing behind and built everything without him.